Ogin's name once made bad men shake like palm leaves in a storm. He was an Ogbong soldier, the strongest in his unit. When militants hid in the creeks of the Niger Delta, Ogin hunted them like a leopard. His bullets never missed, his laugh was loud, his heart brave. But one night, everything changed. It was election time. A new president from the north promised, "I will end trouble in the Delta in 1 month." But secretly, he told soldiers, "Don't fight militants too hard, let them breathe." Generals smiled, pocketing money meant for guns and hospitals. Soldiers who disobeyed, youth, they vanished. Ogin refused to listen. "If we don't fight, who will?" He growled one dark night. As he walked to his tent, a shadow moved. Bang! Pain exploded in his leg. A soldier his own friend had shot him. "Sorry, Ogin," the man whispered, orders from above. Ogin woke up in a tiny hospital. His leg was twisted like a broken stick. The army said, "You're retired, go home." They gave him 5,000 naira and a rusty medal. No praise, no pension, just a dusty bus ride back to his village. At home, his mama hugged him, crying, "Ogin, my son, what happened to you?" But her eyes kept searching behind him. "Where is Jait? Where is your brother?" Ogin froze. Jait, his little brother with a laugh like bubbling river water, was gone 2 days earlier. Militants had dragged Jait away, shouting, "This is for Ogin's sins." They wanted revenge. They wanted Ogin to suffer. Ogin limped to the army camp, begging for help. The commander smirked. "No orders to fight militants. Go home, cripple." He went to TV stations, but reporters turned off their cameras. "Don't want trouble," they muttered. That night, Mama sat holding Jait's photograph, tears cutting lines through her dusty cheeks. "Who will save my son?" she wailed. Outside, the Niger Delta buzzed with crickets and danger. Ogin looked at his shaking hands. No gun, no army, just one broken leg. But then fire filled his belly. He grabbed a rusty machete. "Mama," he said, voice steady like old times, "I will bring Jait home, or I will die." Mama's cry chased him into the dark. "Ogin, don't go. You're not a ghost yet." But Ogin was already gone into the night where militants, crocodiles, and betrayal waited. Somewhere in the swamp, a journalist with a hidden camera watched and smiled. The swamp hissed at Ogin like 1,000 snakes. Mud sucked at his broken leg, and mosquitoes bit his neck raw. But he didn't stop. He followed the militants' footprints, deeper into the green darkness. Somewhere, Jait was alive. Ogin could feel it. Suddenly, a voice hissed, "Ogre soldier, you walk like a pregnant goat." Ogin spun, machete raised. A skinny boy crawled out of the bushes. Tari, a journalist with a phone full of secrets. His shirt was torn, his eyes bright with fear. "I saw them take your brother," Tari whispered. "I filmed it. But no TV station will show it. The big men paid them to stay quiet." Ogin frowned. "Why follow me?" Tari grinned, showing crooked teeth. "I want to film you, the soldier who became a ghost. The people need to see truth." He pulled out a tiny camera, hidden in a fake coconut. "This will make the whole Nigeria shake." Before Ogin could argue, screams tore through the air. Jait's voice. They ran toward the sound, dodging spiky plants and crocodile eyes. But the swamp played tricks. The screams came from everywhere and nowhere. Then splash! Ogin's good leg sank into quicksand. Tari grabbed a vine, pulling hard. "Ogre, no die here." He yelped, but the mud growled. Hungry, suddenly, rough hands yanked Ogin out. For militants, faces covered with scarves, laughed. "Look, the ghost soldier came to play." One sneered. They tied Ogin's hands, ignoring Tari hiding in the bushes. "Where is my brother?" Ogin spat. The leader, a man with spider tattoos, leaned close. "Jait sings pretty songs for us now. Soon, you'll sing too, before we feed you to the fishes." As they dragged Ogin away, Tari's camera blinked red in the shadows. At the militants' camp, Jite sat chained to a tree, his face bruised but fierce. "Ogin will come," he muttered. "He's not afraid of you." Spider laughed. "Your brother is a cripple. The army abandoned him, even his mama cries." He threw a rusty knife at Jite's feet. "Cut your chains, if you can." Jite's hands shook, but he gripped the knife. Clink, 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 back in the swamp. Tari tiptoed past sleeping militants. Camera ready, he found Ogin tied to a pole, blood dripping down his face. "Ogre," Tari whispered. "Play dead, I have plan." But a boot slammed into Tari's back. Spider stood there grinning. "A journalist? Good. We'll kill you both on camera. Let Nigeria watch." As Spider raised his gun, Ogin roared, "Tari, run!" But it was too late. The camera rolled. The camera blinked red, capturing every terrifying moment. Spider's gun gleamed under the moonlight, aimed at Tari's trembling head. Ogin struggled against the ropes, his heart pounding like war drums. "Let him go," he roared, his voice cutting through the swamp's eerie silence. But Spider only laughed. "You think you're still a soldier, cripple? You're nothing but a ghost." Just as Spider's finger tightened on the trigger, a loud crack echoed through the trees. Spider froze, his eyes wide. A voice boomed from the darkness. "Ogin is not alone." Out of the shadows stepped 3 soldiers junior, Boma and Femi. They were young, their faces fierce but scared. Junior, the tallest, held a rifle steady. "We disobeyed orders to come here," he said. "We're not letting you die alone, Ogre Ogin." Spider snarled, "Kill them." The militants raised their guns, but the soldiers were faster. Bang, bang. Bang, bullets flew, and the swamp erupted into chaos. Tari ducked behind a tree, his camera still rolling. Ogin, still tied to the pole, shouted, "Cut me loose." Femi sprinted to Ogin, slicing the ropes with a knife. "We heard what happened to you, Ogre," Femi said, his voice shaking. "We couldn't just sit and do nothing." Ogin grabbed a fallen gun, his hand steady despite his broken leg. "Where's Jite?" he demanded. "We saw him chained to a tree," Boma said, reloading his rifle. "But we need to move fast, more militants are coming." The group fought their way through the camp, dodging bullets and machetes. Tari followed, his camera capturing every moment. "This will blow up the internet," he whispered, his eyes wide with fear and excitement. Finally, they reached Jite. The boy was still chained, but his hands were bloody from trying to cut himself free. "Ogin," Jite cried, his voice breaking. "I knew you'd come." Ogin hugged his brother tightly, tears mixing with the dirt on his face. "I'm sorry it took so long," he whispered. But there was no time for relief. Spider's voice echoed through the trees. "You think you've won. The swamp will swallow you all." Suddenly, the ground shook. Dozens of militants emerged from the shadows, their guns aimed at Ogin and his small army. Junior cursed, "We're outnumbered." Ogin looked at his team young soldiers, a brave journalist, and his little brother. He smiled grimly. "We fight together, or we die together." As the militants closed in, Tari's camera kept rolling. The world would see this battle, the truth of the Niger Delta, but would anyone survive to tell it? The militants' guns roared like thunder. Bullets tore through leaves, and the swamp screamed. Ogin shoved Jite behind a tree, his heart pounding. "Stay down," he yelled. Junior and Boma fired back, but Femi lay on the ground, clutching his stomach. Blood seeped through his fingers. "Femi." Ogin crawled to him, but Femi shook his head. "Save your brother, Ogre," he gasped. "Tell Nigeria. We tried." His hand fell still, rage burned in Ogin's chest. He grabbed Femi's gun and limped into the open, firing wildly. "Come out, Spider. Fight me like a man." Spider stepped forward, grinning. "You want to die first?" "Fine," but before Spider could shoot, a loud snap came from the bushes. A massive crocodile, eyes glowing, lunged at the militants. Chaos erupted as the beast thrashed, biting men and dragging them into the water. Tari, still filming, whispered, "The swamp is angry." Junior pulled Ogin back. "Now's our chance. Run." The group fled deeper into the swamp. Jite clinging to Ogin's back, Tari led the way, his camera flashlight cutting through the dark. Behind them, Spider's shouts faded. "You won't escape. The whole delta belongs to us." They reached a rickety boat hidden in the reeds. Boma helped Ogin in, his voice shaking. "Femi, he was my cousin." Ogin gripped his shoulder. "We'll honor him, but first, we get this footage out." As they paddled, Jite whispered, "Ogin, your leg." Blood soaked Ogin's torn pants, but he shrugged. "Just a scratch." Suddenly, gunfire echoed across the water. A speedboat with militants chased them. Bullets pinged against the boat. Tari screamed, dropping his camera into the swamp. "No, the evidence." But Junior grinned, pulling a phone from his pocket. "I uploaded it to the cloud live. Nigeria is watching right now." Ogin laughed a raw, wild sound. "Then let's give them a show." He stood, wobbling, and aimed his gun. Bang! The speedboat's driver fell, and the boat spun out of control. But as cheers rose, Spider's voice crackled on a stolen radio. "You think you've won? The president knows. Soldiers are coming to silence you all." The group froze. In the distance, army helicopters thundered toward them. Junior paled. "They'll kill us and say we were militants." Ogin looked at Jite, then at the choppers. "Then we don't let them find us." He pointed to a storm cloud swallowing the moon. "We disappear, like ghosts." The swamp swallowed their boat whole. The swamp was silent, as if holding its breath. Ogin and his small group crouched in the mangroves, the sound of army helicopters growing louder. Jite clung to Ogin's side, his small hands trembling. "Will they kill us, brother?" he whispered. Ogin ruffled Jite's hair, forcing a smile. "Not today, not ever." But his leg was failing him, and his vision blurred. Blood soaked his clothes, and every breath felt like fire. Tari, clutching his phone, whispered, "The video is everywhere. Nigerians are angry. Protests are starting in the cities." Junior nodded, his face grim. "But the army won't let us live to see it. They're coming to silence us." Ogin looked at his team. Junior, Boma, Tari, and Jite. They were all he had left. "Listen," he said, his voice steady. "I'll distract them. You take Jite and run. Get the footage to the world." "No," Jite cried, tears streaming down his face. "I won't leave you." Ogin knelt, cupping Jite's face. "You're my brother, my heart, but Nigeria needs to know the truth. You have to be brave. For me, before anyone could argue." Ogin grabbed a rifle and limped into the open. The helicopter's searchlights found him instantly. "There he is." A voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "The traitor." Ogin raised his arms, his voice echoing across the swamp. "I'm no traitor. I'm a soldier who fought for Nigeria. But you're the real enemies." Bullets rained down. Ogin fired back, his aim still deadly despite his wounds. One helicopter spun out of control, crashing into the swamp. But more soldiers closed in on foot, their guns blazing. Junior and Boma tried to help, but Ogin shouted, "Go, save Jite." Tari grabbed Jite's hand, tears in his eyes. "We have to go, Pickin, for Ogin." As they fled, Ogin fought like a man possessed. He took down soldier after soldier, his body riddled with bullets but still standing. Finally, he collapsed, his blood staining the swamp red. Spider emerged from the shadows, grinning. "The ghost is finally dead." But Ogin smiled, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm not the ghost. Nigeria is, and ghosts don't stay buried." He pressed a button on a device in his hand. The swamp exploded in light as Tari's footage went viral. Nigerians saw everything: the corruption, the betrayal, Ogin's sacrifice. The next day, protests erupted across the country. The president was impeached, corrupt generals were arrested, and Ogin's name became a rallying cry for justice. At his funeral, Jite stood tall, holding Ogine's rusty medal. "My brother was a hero," he said, his voice strong. "And heroes never die." The swamp whispered its agreement as the ghost of a soldier watched over his people.